It is very, very... I was very lucky. I managed to watch the first episode last night. I can't tell you how up my street this is. As soon as there's a new version of an Agatha Christie that I haven't seen, I'm all over it.
Oh, good.
It was lovely because it's got that really nostalgic, traditional feel that you want from something like this.
I do, yes,
Yeah.
I do want it. I know I wasn't looking to sort of reinterpret it or anything. I like I like that period, I like that style, and I love the mystery, absolutely love the mystery.
And what was it about this story in particular? Because obviously there's many, many novels. Why did you pick this one?
Well, I must say, at the time when it was first suggested, an Agatha Christie, I thought it was rather a niche move to make. I didn't realise they would be coming along like buses on Oxford Street and there would be 5 a week. And not to mention the knockoffs that are being done of Agatha Christie. But I always loved this story. I'll be honest with you, I had a bit of a crush on the character of Frankie Derwent when I was a young lad, and this is one of the first ones I read. I loved the mystery. It still makes me shiver when I think of it. But I also loved that character. I just thought she and Bobby Jones are just such a wonderful pairing.
Yeah.
Just loved them.
Why do you think you're so obsessed with murder mysteries?
I don't know. It's peculiar, isn't it? Maybe there's just a puzzle. People like doing crosswords every day, but there's something about, I suppose, in this complicated world, threatening world in many ways, to feel that the evildoer will get caught in the end.
Yeah.
There's something reassuring about that. We all know it isn't true.
Yeah.
You know, Vladimir Putin is not appearing before the International Criminal Court. However, we like to believe that in the long run, you know, virtue is rewarded and sin is punished. And there's something quite steely about Agatha Christie, I think, that, you know, she has a sort of punishing feel to her, which I think is quite sort of reassuring in a way.
Yeah. But having said that, this story in particular is one of her slightly funnier ones.
It is.
You've got a theory as to why that was the case.
I do. This came out, she wrote this about a year after Dashiell Hammett wrote The Thin Man, which was made into a film straight away with William Powell and Myrna Loy, and it was one of the first big film franchises. They made about 6 or 7 of them, I think.
Right.
And my theory is that Agatha Christie either read it or saw the film and said, I want to do something like that.
Yeah.
I want to do something that has that slight American screwball adventure.
Yeah.
There's a mystery. There's, you know, the mystery that she does better than anybody. But there's also a kind of comic spirit to it. There's adventure and fun and just a very subtly introduced romance, which you never, you know, she doesn't dwell on because she's Agatha Christie. But that's my theory. I've got no evidence for it, like most of my theories.
I think it's a good theory.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
How important do you think is having that sort of humour in slightly darker stories?
I think it's vital. I think it's vital. It's vital as a piece of entertainment because I think everything has to be balanced. You know, there has to be light and dark in everything. Much like life. I think people are funny. People deal with frightening or intense situations with humour a lot of the time. Or when I see something or read something that has not a whiff of a joke in it, I just don't believe it. I just don't think that's how people behave. Sometimes the darker things get, the funnier people get.
Yeah.
As a sort of response, as a way of coping.
Well, yes, and things tend to get very dark because I'm not very funny very often. I mean, I grew up... One of my favourite things... Well, I had Blackadder Goes Forth on VHS, and I used to watch it over and over and over again. It was my favourite thing. And so it was a huge inspiration to me. And I suppose that's in a similar way. It's a very dark scenario, and yet there was so much humour in it.
Yeah, I mean, as a show, it did. But maybe I shouldn't say this, but it might be slightly blasphemous, but I bet that even in the real situation, they were cracking jokes.
Yeah.
Because you would. I mean, it's the way you sort of deal with this. How much worse could this get? It becomes funny, in a way.
So I'll ask you this then, off the back of that. How much worse did it get directing during the tail end of a pandemic? And did you find the funny side of it at all when you couldn't get the costumes, props and set you needed?
It was hard going, I will admit.
Yeah.
There was one moment we were not able to build a set because we couldn't get plywood.
Wow.
It got a bit tricky at times. Looking back on it, it was a very happy time, and we had an enormous amount of fun. In the middle of it, honestly, I was crying out for an epidural almost every day. It was extremely stressful. But, you know, that's part of the fun of it, in a way. If it wasn't, if you could do it sort of without thinking about it, you know, what's the point?
Yeah.
And I just loved the story so much, and I wanted to do it justice and do the cast justice. It's an amazing cast.
I mean, an amazing
Incredible.
I'm slightly obsessed with her. She's like the most beautiful person on planet Earth.
Lucy Boynton is pretty easy on the eye.
Yeah.
Yes, and on the camera as well.
Yeah,
She's like an old-fashioned movie star, a proper movie star. Yeah.
And he's excellent. Well,
the nicest man in the world.
Yeah.
James Stewart, I think. That's how I thought of him. He's a sort of modern James Stewart.
Yeah.
How did you find directing? Do you really enjoy it? Do you...
I do. But as I say, there were moments when I'd have given anything to be anywhere else.
Yeah.
But you're the one person on the set who can't leave. You know, the captain has to stay on the bridge. No, I loved it. I really did love it. There were some tricky days, but as I say, I was so lucky with the cast I had. They were just, to a man and woman, they were just immaculate.
So when you have those tricky days, obviously you need to find a way of unwinding. It took me slightly by surprise today to discover you love woodwork and you are working on a table currently.
That is correct. Yes, woodworking, welding, and blacksmithing. I've just bought an anvil.
Have you?
Yeah.
So what does that give? I mean, you're a creative person, and sort of does it all tap into the same?
I don't know if I'm creative. I'm certainly incredibly clumsy and not well suited to any of those three crafts at all. But I'm determined to press on and learn what I can learn. Partly because I think the way the world's going, we're all going to be making our own shoes pretty soon. You know, we better know how to make things.
We've got Jay Blades on later, actually, and he's
exactly.
About the same thing.
And the joy of, God, I love that show so much, of seeing things come back to life because of someone's skill and care and attention is just, I find it terribly moving. And by the way, can be funny.
Yes.
You know, it's a very moving experience, you know, that those people are going through, but it's funny too.
Thank you. It's really, really lovely to have you here.
Well,
Why Didn't They Ask Evans is what we're talking about. I can't recommend it more highly. It's brilliant. ITV1, 9 p.m. on the 9th, 10th and 11th, so you can just sit in for those 3 days and indulge in the whole thing. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Right,